Fellas, UFC 296, finally, I've been waiting for this card for so long. We finally get it this weekend. I'm going to be doing what I usually do. I'll be predicting every fight on the main card, as well as one fight that I prefer on the prelims like I usually do. But to be honest, there's a lot of prelim fights on this card. I mean, we got the return of Aldana, we got Cody Garbrandt on it, we got the headliner, Giga Chikadze pulled out, it's now Bryce Mitchell. Bryce Mitchell versus Josh Emmett. We've even got other fighters, Randy Brown, Manyfield, we've got even Casey O'Neill. We've got so many fighters on the prelims that just make the prelims stacked in. And obviously, honestly, I'm willing to pay pay-per-view for the press conference alone. Like, we're going to see Ian Gary get slaughtered in the press conference. But yeah, I'm going to be predicting every fight on the main card and one from the prelims. Let's get into it. The prelim fight that I've chosen, it has to be Josh Emmett versus Bryce Mitchell. Now, to be honest, I would have probably preferred to see Josh Emmett versus Giga Chikadze. I feel like that would have made more sense, but I don't mind Josh Emmett versus Bryce Mitchell. Now, I think Josh Emmett, I really do, I can just see it happening. There's a crowd there, the crowd are hyped, and then Josh Emmett just goes in there and sleeps Bryce Mitchell in the first round. I don't know why, I see this happening. One thing I will say about Josh Emmett, though, is I don't know if he's going to be the same as he were before, because he fought, when was it? July of this year, against Ilia Topuria. He got absolutely battered. Now, I'm not saying it was a one-sided beating. It was, back and forth, but the amount of damage he took in that fight was crazy. I did not expect him to be back already this year. So the fact that he's back so early after a fight that he took so much damage in kind of worries me, but I don't see Bryce Mitchell kind of giving him that same amount of damage. I feel like Mitchell's game plan will be to just try and take him down and keep him down like he did with Edson Barboza. But it is a short notice fight for Mitchell. He did win his last fight against Dan Ige. They've both fought Dan Ige as well, both won by decision. You can even compare them against Ilia Topuria. Mitchell got ragdolled by Topuria. I just feel like Josh Emmett, he's going to go in there, and I just can't see Bryce Mitchell being able to survive the overhand. And if anyone's going to get knocked out by Josh Emmett by the overhand, it's going to be Bryce Mitchell. Emmett's been off the KOs for a while. He's due a knockout, and I feel like this will be the fight where he sleeps Bryce Mitchell, and I can just see it being a brutal, brutal knockout. And yeah, Emmett's just used to the toughest of the toughest. His last two fights, wasn't it Yair Rodriguez and Ilia Topuria? Before that, he got a win. Now, was it a close win? Yes, but he got a win over Covington. I just don't see Bryce Mitchell having any threat. I feel like Emmett as well is going to be much tougher to take down. I just don't see it being a ragdoll by Bryce Mitchell. So I'm going with Josh Emmett by a first-round knockout. Great way to end the prelims, and I guess, yeah, great way to end the prelims. I'm going Josh Emmett by knockout against Bryce Mitchell. I mean, about Bryce Hall. Bryce Mitchell anyway. Yeah, Josh Emmett by knockout. Next fight, Tony Ferguson versus Paddy Pimblett. I'm going Ferguson. Everyone's picking Paddy to win. I'm going to be the guy that picks Ferguson. And then when Ferguson wins on Saturday night, you know who predicted him to win. I'm predicting Ferguson. I just feel like Ferguson, I don't know what it is. I've got no reason to be picking him. He's on a 6-fight losing streak now. Paddy's on a 6-fight winning streak. He's probably been absolutely bruised and battered by David Goggins, which probably isn't the best thing for Tony Ferguson, because, endurance wasn't necessarily his biggest problem. But I've got this weird feeling that Ferguson's going to get a comeback fight. My theory is that Ferguson only lost 6 times in a row to condition his record. I reckon that's what it was. He was just trying to condition his record, and this will be the fight where he makes a big comeback. On the main card of UFC 296 right at the end of the year. Paddy's been out for a year as well. Ferguson's been more active, even though the fights that he has been active in hasn't been great. But we haven't seen Pimblett since last year, and it was a robbery against Jared Gordon, which he shouldn't have won. I just feel like it'll be a difference between an experienced guy like Ferguson and a guy that's been rushed too quickly in Paddy Pimblett, and I really do see Ferguson beating him everywhere. We've got to remember, Ferguson, now maybe I'm just clinging on to this, but it did happen last year. He dropped Michael Chandler. It didn't look too bad against Michael Chandler in the 3rd round. I just feel like he's going to destroy Paddy. Paddy's best game is jiu-jitsu. His striking's terrible. His striking defense is terrible. He's best when it comes to jiu-jitsu. And if you think for a second Paddy Pimblett's going to submit Tony Ferguson, you're crazy. I've got Ferguson. I've got a really weird suspicion he's going to start elbowing him when it comes to ground and pound, and then he's just going to the ref's going to end up stopping the fight, and I can just see Ferguson finally getting a win over the guy that we've wanted him to get a win over for so long. And by the way, I predicted this fight. When I did How Can Tony Ferguson Make a Comeback a few months ago, I predicted this fight. So the only reason this fight is happening is because of me. But anyway, that's enough on this fight. I'm going Ferguson. Remember who predicted him. I'm predicting Ferguson to win. Remember I predicted him. So when he wins on Saturday night, you'll know why. I sounded a bit like Tito Ortiz, did I? Next fight, Luque versus Gary. I feel like Gary, he's lost his head. There's so much been going on into the build-up to this fight between him, Strickland, a couple of other fighters. The press conference is going to drain him out as well. He's in a really tough spot in his career, and I feel like he's completely just, I don't think he's overlooking, but I feel like he's going to kind of, he's not fully focused on Vicente Luque as he should be, because there's too much distractions right now. And I feel like that's definitely going to affect him in the fight. I think he's going to fight more emotionally, but I still find him pulling off the win. This win means a lot more to Ian Gary than it does to Vicente Luque, but at the same time, there's much more pressure on Gary to win. But it's definitely the toughest fight of his career. I mean, the guy took Neil Magny to a decision. He really should have finished him, but he took him to a decision, and he's fighting a tough guy in Vicente Luque, who was once, and to be honest, kind of still is, the killer of the division, coming off a win over Rafael dos Anjos. Yeah, I've got Vicente Luque and Ian Gary having a really close fight. I cannot even see Vicente Luque, kind of winning the fight, but then it ends up being a robbery win to Ian Gary. Luque is great everywhere, but I feel like it's going to be a fight on the feet. I can definitely see him dropping Ian Gary a few times, but I'm going to say Ian Gary kickboxes him, outpoints him to a decision, and Ian Gary will be crowned the winner. Then he'll start rambling on about the mic, saying, what about now, haters? And then he's going to go probably get a fight against the loser of Colby and Leon. But yeah, Luque, Gary. I'm going Gary. Going to be a close fight, don't get me wrong. Going to be a really close fight because Luque is no Neil Magny, but I've got Ian Gary winning this by decision. Next fight, Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Stephen Thompson. Now, I actually think this is going to be a difficult fight for Shavkat. He was getting outboxed. Well, I don't want to say outboxed, but he was getting caught multiple times against Jeff Neal. And Stephen Thompson's one of the best strikers in the division. I think Stephen Thompson's going to be able to land on Shavkat if he's not improved his striking defense a lot. Shavkat's striking defense has never been great. His head movement's never really been there. He's been caught. He's always able to get in hit. So I can definitely see early on in the fight, Stephen's going to start landing against Shavkat Rakhmonov and maybe even beat him on the feet. But listen, Shavkat Rakhmonov, he's finished every single one of his fights, never gone to the decision. He's undefeated. I don't think that's going to stop in this fight. I really do feel like Shavkat's going to get Stephen Thompson in a submission in the late rounds, maybe late round 2, maybe round 3. He'll be backed up against the cage. He'll get a takedown on him, and I don't know what the submission will be. But I do genuinely see Shavkat Rakhmonov submitting Stephen Thompson. But you know what's crazy? If Stephen Thompson wins this fight, he's probably going to get a title shot. They're going to give it to Bilal first, but Stephen Thompson's going to be in line for a title shot if he beats Shavkat. And I find that crazy. I actually find it crazy that Stephen Thompson is still in the talks for a title fight after all these years. But he's got a big task ahead of him. He's got Shavkat to deal with, kind of like the boogeyman of the division. And I really don't see Stephen winning this fight, even though I do think people kind of, I don't know, not overhating, that's a terrible word for it. How do I say it? Like, people are underestimating Stephen Thompson in this fight, but I am going Shavkat to win. Next fight, this one's going to be another fight of the night. Yeah, the whole build-up to this fight has been boring. Who are these guys? If you look on any comment section between these guys, like fights, like the comment section, everyone's just disrespecting him. But I'm telling you, this is going to be the fight of the night. It's going to be the fight of the night because, first of all, it's Pantoja. Listen, that guy brings it in every fight. Although I do think my prediction for the fight is that Pantoja will win a decision. I don't think he's going to get another submission over Brandon Royval. I feel like Brandon Royval will have learned a lot from the first fight, but Pantoja's been fighting a lot more at the highest level. It's going to be an absolute scrap. It's going to be a back and forth, absolute scrap. If there's anyone that's going to win on the feet, I still think it's going to be Brandon Royval. I feel like Pantoja does carry a lot of power on the feet, but Brandon Royval, what I've seen, definitely has a lot more technique on the feet, but I feel like it's going to be Pantoja just out-grappling him again. We've seen the improvement from Pantoja's grappling as well since the first time they fought. I just see Pantoja out-grappling him, taking the back a few times, not finding the submission, but then eventually ends up getting a decision while they both stood there absolutely bloody. And you've got to give respect Pantoja, man. Even though you might find him boring personality-wise, you've got to admit that whenever he fights, it's an absolute scrap. I mean, he fought on UFC 290, one of the best cards of the year, and he was the fight of the night on that, or at least my fight of the night. So I'm going Pantoja by decision, but I don't really mind who wins, to be honest with you. They're both cool guys, but I'm going Pantoja to win this by decision. And then finally, the main event, Leon versus Covington. I'm going Leon by decision to be safe, but I've got this weird feeling that Leon's going to get a stoppage in the second round or first round. Like, it's going to be, I don't know, he's going to catch Colby. Maybe even Colby gets his first knockout loss, like fully asleep knockout loss. I'm going Leon by decision, though, but I think it's going to be quite a boring fight. To be completely honest with you, I do feel like it's going to be quite boring. Neither of them are really, I'd say, interesting fighters. You've got Colby, who's high pressure, high cardio, high wrestling output. And then you've got Leon, who's more of a point fighter, who definitely, kicks and hits hard, but he's not always, he's not reliable to land the shot unless it's against Quaresman in the title fight. But I just see them kind of outpointing each other. I feel like it's going to be Colby trying to take him down and then survive on the feet. Leon trying to, outpoint him, outbox him, just outstrike him and then defend the takedowns. They're both going to be very, especially Leon, is going to be very kind of wary for the takedowns. He's going to be careful for the takedowns. So I just feel like it's going to be a bit of a boring fight. Colby might win for the last part of the fight as well. Although I do think Leon Edwards' stamina is better than what we've seen. We saw him, I know he went 5 rounds with Usman, but especially the rematch with Usman when it was for the belt, when Usman was champion, he was definitely a little bit, I don't want to say gassed, but he was definitely not as fired up as he was in the first round, and that maybe that was due to the fact that it was in sea level. But then we've got Colby Covington, who's one of the most high-pressure fighters you've got in the UFC. I've just got Leon Edwards winning this by decision, but I can just for some reason see him getting a shocking finish on Colby. I just don't see a world where Colby wins. I didn't see a world where Strickland won. I didn't see a world where O'Malley won, so maybe Covington's going to go out there and shock us. But if I'm speaking on logic, I just don't see Covington winning. I feel like Leon Edwards has got really underrated grappling, really good takedown defense. Colby's been inactive as well. He fought Usman, took ages off, then fights Masvidal early 2022, takes him to a decision as well, and now he's been out for nearly 2 years, and he's fighting Leon Edwards, who's the champion, the new champion of the division. So I'm going Leon Edwards by decision, kind of a boring decision, but I can see him picking up a knockout, and it would surprise me, to be honest with you, if Leon Edwards can actually finish him, and I feel like I've got a weird feeling that's going to happen. But let me know your thoughts down below on all these fights. Who have you got winning? Do you have the same picks as me? If not, let me know. But thank you for watching. I can't wait for this card, man. Even the press conference, I can't wait for it. But anyway, thank you for watching.